Well, welcome. It is 5/15/2024. Welcome to Serious Writer Club. I'm Kyle here with Bethany. And we're starting today with some exciting news for Bethany.
Yeah.
So in the writing world, I think this has been a lot of exciting news lately. But why don't you tell people your current exciting news, which I'm excited for you.
Thanks. I'm excited. So I have been sending out a lot of submissions for my clients, and I have an editor at a Penguin imprint who is interested in one of my clients' projects, and I have an offer in hand. And the editor also said, hey, since this project wouldn't be coming out for two to 3 years because they've already got books slated in the same topic, is there anything else that she's written? Because maybe we can find a spot for her in a 25 or 26 slot. And I was like, yes. So one thing I have my clients do for picture books is I have them kind of put together a portfolio with a pitch, a couple of comp titles, and then their manuscript. So she was able to just look hers over really quick, make some updates, and send it to me. And then I went ahead and sent it on to the editor so they can look through all of her projects and see if there are any, sorry about my printer, any that they're interested in taking, which is very exciting. Yeah, so I'm super excited. Possibly two contracts coming for this client, which I'm thrilled about. But one thing that's interesting that I noticed with this editor, Kyle, if you want to come on, because this is something I think is super interesting that our authors and writers might find as well. He may not even be in the room. So instead of getting a contract from this Penguin Random House imprint, they sent me an offer memo. And so it's all of the, like, I printed one out. So it's got like the territories and languages. It's got how much the advance is, the royalty breakdown, all the sub-rights breakdown, the timing and the payout. So kind of like all of the variables that would be in the contract are just on this one sheet of paper. And then what I'm gonna ask for some different things in there, and that's what I believe I'm sending back to them, and then they will take it, put it in the contract, and send that back to me. So I thought that was very interesting how every single publisher does things a little bit differently. Have you seen an offer memo before?
Yeah, I mean that's
Is that the standard thing with some of the bigger?
That's the standard thing with bigger publishers.
Yeah, super interesting. So
When you work with a lot of small publishers, they just send
the contract.
But
yeah,
we approve the offer, then we approve the contract.
Okay, so we do have a question pop in about last week. And last week we talked about the manuscript wish list and how that can really help you kind of fine tune not only the house that you're pitching to, if you can submit to the house directly, also the editor, and then also to agents, and it can really improve your chances because you can kind of, not only can you tailor your query, and agents aren't going to just say, oh yes, I'm going to sign you because your query was amazing, but it can tailor that a little bit. But you can also know that you're sending to the right agents because you know what they're looking for specifically, and you might have a project that comes up just at the right time. So this question was, is there anything in particular that the general or Christian market is looking for in genre? So Melissa, can you be a little bit more specific about maybe the type of genre you're talking about? Because as when I'm looking through my own inbox as an agent, like I'm specifically looking for different genres and specific things within those genres. And so it kind of does matter on category and genre, but I want to be able to help answer this question a little bit better. Are you okay?
Yeah, I have a puppy that was going nuts, so it's gone now. I mean, I didn't kill it, but it's gone. I can add to that question if you want.
Yes.
When we're talking about like what's being looked for general right now, I mean, in general, the same stuff is always being looked for. Like I know that sounds terrible, but holiday books, like it depends on the different category of age, but like if there's anything that's around holidays is always going to go well anywhere, nonfiction, fiction, and in children's, because we go and we buy stuff at the stores during holidays. Like it might be nonfiction because I'm depressed during the holidays versus children's picture book because I want to have a, fun story about elves, Christmas, or it might be a fiction because I want to watch a Hallmark, romantic movie. And so so anything that's set around any kind of holidays is going to be always applicable in the industry. It may not mean you get a contract, but you're going to have interest for it. People are going to be looking for it. And so there's holidays all year long. It's political season. So pitching last year a book on politics or the political season, that's right now. It's really hard to pitch one now because it would have had to release now. So that would have been good. So if you look at the calendar kind of tells you what people are looking for. So if you know what's going on in the world, you know what's going on routinely on the calendar, then you know what publishers are typically going to look for when you're asking for things that are like regularly people are looking for. And then you have to just pay attention to like culture, because culture also drives books. So if something's trending in culture, Netflix, um, Amazon Prime, any of that type of stuff, then culture will drive what people are looking for. That's just the way it is. I mean, I've seen a rise in people looking for stuff like Dune because Dune's been so big the last couple of years. We had the superhero renaissance there for a while. Now that's kind of died down, but now we're to like back to like medieval and dragons and all that now. So you just got to pay attention to what's going on in the world, and that's going to give you the best idea of what's being looked at in the market, depending on what genre you're in.
And I can add to that because there was she added about trends in the market, maybe the children's market and for fiction. So in children's, I would say we talked about this maybe 5 or 6 months ago, that there had been well, actually it may have been in October, actually there had been a shift in picture books in particular, sort of away from SEL, which is I always want to say socioeconomic. It's not what SEL stands for. Social emotional learning.
Social emotional learning, yeah.
Socioeconomic always pops in my head whenever I see the SE together. But yeah.
Because everybody did so much of that for
Yes.
a time. That was the thing.
They got
I haven't heard anybody ask for that, and I haven't heard anybody ask for Steam in a while.
No, I haven't seen much for that either. What I have heard editors ask for is humor, and I've seen this from indie houses and some bigger houses. And also agents are looking for that. So very humorous, character-driven books that can be part of a series. And one editor in particular told me that he always looks at the New York Times bestseller list. He follows that every single week just to see which books are always kind of appearing on there. And they're constantly right now those humor character-driven books. And then also within children's, I've got some really great clients, but sometimes the feedback we get is that maybe the story arc in the fiction picture book isn't enough, or like the ending doesn't really have like a resolve. And so I think if you're writing a picture book, there's some really great ones that I see, but it has to be very punchy and it has to be very poignant if you're going to go more on the literary side. So because I kind of divide my editors and publishing houses up in my spreadsheet for like, I have a literary side and then I have a humor side. And that's kind of how I think about the two different kinds of books. And then obviously there's elements that would fall into both. So if you're going more literary, it definitely has to be something that's really going to capture the heart of it. And then if you're going more on the humor side, it's got to be something that perhaps they can build out into like a multiple series. Like the book that we got interest with, Doubleday, for young readers is it's an evergreen story. It's funny. It breaks the fourth wall, and it's a book that can be read over and over and over. It's just delightful. And I thought it was delightful, and the editor agreed with me. Like that was how she responded. Like, we thought this was delightful too. And it was just a perfect story. So be reading. Like I have all these picture books behind me from the library. So I would, if you're going to write picture books, you should, my goal is to read 100 picture books that have been written in the last 3 to 5 years. And I would even say the last 3. And that would be my recommendation for anyone who's like really trying to get into picture books, is look at the last 3 years.
I mean, the stuff I saw at the conference that 2 weekends ago was all 25, 30-year-old picture book ideas. Like, we don't write picture books like that anymore. We don't publish them like that anymore. But they were a lot of just not story books. Like, and I'm like, where's the story? Where's the plot? Well, this is just the character does this and the mom does this. And like, we don't have books anymore where mom and dad resolve the story. Like the child has to resolve their own story. Like there's no complete plot. And the person hadn't even thought about like the plot of the book. Well, I just think it's cute. And well, yeah, I mean, it's cute, but there's no resolution. And so, I mean, we're in a market where they want a plot. It might be a very simple plot, but they want a plot, they want a resolution, they want a character growth, they want all this in 500 words. So, um, can it be done? Yeah. I mean, so here's the thing, when I'm sitting at a conference and with people and I'm giving them, hey, go read, have you read this book? Have you read this book? This seems a lot like this book, or maybe the way I see you should write it be like this book. Cause I try to help people and say, hey, I could see this book, but would need to look more like this. Every time I mention the books, they have no idea what the books are. They've never heard of them. And these are like some of the most famous books. Like I'm not mentioning books that people shouldn't have heard about. And they have never heard about them because they're not reading books. They're not reading, like I mentioned, I love peanut butter and cupcake. I talk about it all the time. I love creepy carrots. Those now they're a couple years old. But they're still very popular. Peanut butter and cupcake was so popular, it's got a whole series now. So you should know about it. If you are a children's writer in the general market, you should know about peanut butter and cupcake, especially because the art style was so unique. And when I tell people this and they don't like, look like the pigeon books. Yeah. If you don't know the pigeon books, you're not reading children's books. It's a dead giveaway to me that the person's not ready to be published, because unless they're just miraculously writing something that's perfect for market, they don't know the market. They're just writing something like they grew up reading, which I can't sell books that people grew up reading. We don't have those style of books anymore. And I know that's hard for people to hear because, I love those style books. I did too. It's what made me love reading, but that's just not the way the market is now. So I know you do this a lot, Bethany. You give people books because you've been reading. And when I know you do the same thing, when they're like, I've never heard any of those books. And it's like, well, that's your genre. It's like, it's a problem if you don't know the book.
This happened to me at a conference. At my very first conference, I was pitching a book and the editor asked me if I'd heard of a book, and I said no, but it was the bestseller at their house in my genre. So like, oh no. So I
Yeah.
learned that lesson real quick. I think that's maybe why I love comps so much, because I never want to be like unaware again,
Mhm.
because I made that mistake very early on.
I mean,
No, but
I was talking to a fiction writer about fantasy, and we were comparing it, and like I said, well, like, do you know Fourth Wing? It kind of feels like a little bit like Fourth Wing. No, never heard of it. I'm like, it's the biggest book in the world right now. So I said, well, I mean, there's a little bit like Game of Thrones type feel to what you're trying to do. Well, I don't know anything about that. And then I'm like, what about like Sarah J. Maas? Do you know, like, no. And I'm like, so what do you read? And it was like Robert Jordan and then a bunch of books that are like 30, 20 years old. And I'm like, unfortunately, that market has changed. I was like, Joe Abercrombie? No. And so when you're talking to somebody who's an industry professional, which is an editor or an agent, and you don't read, it's obviously you're not reading the books in the genre. I mean, for me, it's just kind of like that's a wall that goes up. Like I can't do anything with this because I might like the person, I might like the idea, and I heard some ideas I really liked.
I did too.
But the problem is, you know, can you write it to the current standards for the industry? And I have a big question if they're not reading anything that's current. That's a hard thing.
It is a hard thing.
So the encouragement to all of you is read. Go read. If you're a writer, read. Like I think it's an important part of read, listen to books. I think books on tape, you can listen to them just as well as reading them. I think some people are more auditory as learners, so you don't necessarily read it. But if you're not listening to books, if you're not reading books, then I don't know that there's a real place for you to write books, because I think you have to know the end. I mean, you got to know what you're doing. It's like, I'm not going to go out and fish the North Sea just because I watch some TikTok videos. You know, you need to at least know how to fish, know how to be able to handle seasickness. Like some of that, I think that's what people are just kind of jumping in without really thinking through. Like, am I really going to invest in this? Go invest in it, love it, live it, read it. And I think that's important.
I think I'm going to follow that up with some tips on how to find books in your genre. If you're not sure if you're reading the current stuff, here's some places to look. I would check out the Goodreads Reader Choice Awards for the last 3 to 4 years. I have found some favorite authors that way. And then you're always going to, sometimes some categories have like the person who always wins every year because they're the mega bestseller. So I always then jump down to who won number 2, number 3, number 4. I try to look at the other people who are nominated by a large majority because it's a reader's choice. So the readers are saying this is the book that is amazing. That's a really, really great place. Another trick to this is go to social media, go to Twitter and say, hey, I'm looking for a book in this category, this genre. What's your favorite? And when you start to see books named over and over and over, go get those books.
Right.
Also, go
Yeah.
back and watch the manuscript wish list episode we did last week. But you can go to manuscriptwishlist.com, search in a genre or category, agent and editor lists will pop up. On the right sidebar is typically where they have a spot for, I want the next blank. Like for me, I think I have Kiera Cass, the Selection series, which is one of my favorite series ever, still selling really well. So I always put like books I'm looking for, go there and start grabbing titles and read them, because these are going to be great, great places, again, from people who are watching the industry and what they're looking for next. It's such good information that is on that website. And then you can also probably check out most agent websites. There's probably more information there than there would be on the editor. Sometimes it's hard to find editor wish lists, but those are some great places. So hopefully that will help.
Right. Yeah, and just pay. I mean, I think Book Talks go. Goodreads is probably, to me, the easiest place. Go see what's trending. Go see what's on the top of the list. The hard part is Goodreads is not always up to date, because some of those books just stay around forever. And read the Clackety. Bethany likes the Clackety.
This is one of my favorite books ever. If you like middle grade, you need to read this book. And I actually tell my other clients, even the YA, I'm like, if you're looking for like just immediate action, she does everything right in this book. Even putting educational stuff in this book without it feeling like education. It's absolutely amazing. This is a book everyone should read.
The Clackety.
Little middle
I
grade.
will tell you when they ask about like how's the industry doing, we haven't done really a big industry update lately. We probably should. The industry's been down this year, mainly, and it's due to one thing in particular that most people, which shouldn't be an issue next year. But Easter was early this year, really early. It was in March, and next year it's in April 20th. That early Easter like kills the Easter season, the spring season. It kills it, because people buy so much before Easter, because like Easter presents, Easter baskets, like, and so the industry's down like 4% this year, and really people think it's just because of Easter.
Well, middle grade is down. I think, was it 16% since last?
Middle grade's down, but YA is up right now. So like it bounces. Like, middle grade was up strong for a while, and YA was trailing, and now YA is up. I mean, you just got to pay attention. Like, if everything ebbs and flows. Nonfiction's the one that's struggling the most right now. Nonfiction's really struggling. I think because fiction's booming. So, if you're a fiction writer, it's a good time to be a fiction writer. It's been booming. It's really stayed pretty steady, with a couple, glitches since COVID. Nonfiction was strong there for a while, but it's struggling, and they think that might generally be because of the Easter season being early. That's why nonfiction's lagging. But yeah, so I mean, those are some of the updates. But did you know the biggest selling book in April? I was surprised to learn this. What do you think the biggest selling book in April was?
Out of all books?
Yeah. You're gonna be surprised.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Just pick a category then. What category do you think it's in?
Children's. I know it's not.
It's children's.
Really?
Dogman had a new book release, 201,000 copies of it.
Wow.
In April. That's insane.
I didn't see that. That's great.
Yeah. My son loves Dogman. He's read like every book. It's the Scarlet Shredder. So my kid will be buying it. And yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. The thing is, I get pitched a lot of these type books. If you're not Dave Pilkey and you're not doing the art, illustration, and writing it, then don't pitch it. So
don't say that.
I mean, because you can't, like, to pay somebody, an illustrator, to illustrate those books and in and out, they're going to pay tens of thousands of dollars to get that many illustrations done. And you're going to have to find someone who's that passionate about your work. It's not like you have to do the illustration for that kind of book. Now, to really hit on all cylinders, the one thing about Dave Pilkey is he's the illustrator, he's the author. So when they make him a deal, and he's making mega bucks with it. So if you're going to do that kind of book, if you sit with me, I can't do anything with it unless you're the illustrator, or unless you have the illustrator partnering with you and they're on board for multiple books, because something like that, if it does well, they're going to want to put book after book after book after book out. And that's what they're doing with Dogman.
Yeah. We got a question come in, a comment about how we had mentioned that not many houses are publishing, and I just wanted to clarify if you meant in the Christian market, because I think that one thing that we did talk about a couple weeks ago was how there are less opportunities in the Christian inspirational market versus like a overall general market, just because the publishers see the Christian house or their Christian imprint as just that. It's the Christian side of their bigger house, just the same way they would see the middle grade line or the YA line or the children's line, unless it's an independent Christian house, but there's not a lot of them.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I would say in the religious market is slowed significantly. Not completely, but it's slowed significantly, with a lot of the independents and medium-sized houses really slowing back. I haven't really seen much of a change in some of the bigger houses. I mean, for me, I've got some authors in that market, and we've got a problem. One of my exciting things is I've got an author that we sent out books. They got rejected by one publisher. Then we sent out like 2 different books. The
Oh, I
one
remember
publisher,
you.
one publisher rejected it. Now here's the saga that happened this week. So the books are the same style of book, but written to 2 different audiences, one to parents, one to youth, young adults. So they really are a different market, because one falls into children's and one falls into adult. But essentially they're the same content. But the one publisher rejected the one is contracting a different book. So they've already rejected it. But they've both offered like massive deals for these books. And so now there's a third publisher who wants in on the original submission that we submitted, but is falling. They offered half the amount of the other one, which is still 99% of the time I would have said, let's take that offer. It's a great offer.
Mhm.
It's just half the better offer, which is really, really a great offer. And so the editor's like, well, can you give us more time? I'm like, I mean, you gotta over double your offer. And so, which is a huge amount. I mean, it's a
That's great.
five figure double that they'd have to do. So, like, yeah, it's kind of one of those. I don't know if they're going to, but I'm running out of time to like get the deal done. But my authors are very happy.
That's
So,
good.
and it's like a co-writing pair, and so they're very happy. But so when we say like some publishers are not have slowed back, it's the ones that who overextended and didn't have the sales power to sell the books have slowed. The ones who generally keep their system, which are going to be your bigger houses, they know what they're publishing, they know how they're going to sell it, they've got the sales team, they're not slowing at all.
They have the distribution in line.
They got the distribution, they got the sales force. But those medium-sized houses, they overextended, they did not have the sales and distribution, and so they've extended all their capital, and so they've just like, we've seen publishers like completely halt.
Yeah.
Like halt, like over a year of nothing new, and only going to work with their current author. So that's just kind of showing you where they're at. But that's not indicative of the whole market. That's just, I think, normal
Yeah.
in all parts of the market, where if you overextend your capital, that does happen.
One thing I have seen in the past, probably a couple of months, is a shift towards board books. I've had some publishers come back after I would submit them a picture book, and they'll say, actually, we're not focusing so much on this right now. We're focusing on board books, which I thought was interesting. So it's like, okay, haven't really
Right.
been acquiring board books, but I've got some clients who have some. So I've sort of been leaning into that over the last week and a half. So I thought that was interesting, because board books are also expensive to make.
Very expensive. Yeah.
So that was an interesting observation, if you will.
Yeah. And I'll say, I know we have a lot of people who write in the religious space. Last year, I know this, but it was almost up 8% as a market.
Oh, that's
So
great.
that's great, right? If you're up 8%, the problem is what's leading it is the Bible. So
Oh,
the Bible, everybody's putting out new Bibles right now. Everybody. I've got a lot of authors who have to sign NDAs because they're not supposed to talk about these new Bible projects they're working on, because all these companies want to keep it secret that they're working on a new version of their Bible, because if you put out new Bibles, people will go buy them
mhm.
because they want the newest Bible, and they're all doing it. So that's what's driving a lot of the upward trend in sales, is every
That's a
religious
good
publisher
thing, but
printing
I
the
know what you
Bible.
mean.
Yeah.
It's not like new
It's not
books.
the same as it's like books and children's. I mean, yeah. So, but they're all seeing when you're in that market, right? Or if the companies are making money, it's long term, it's better for everybody, even if you're not writing for Bible projects. So, if
Right.
you're in the religious market, is a good time to be in that market. They're making money. But these, what I'm talking the bigger houses though. I'm not talking necessarily those indie houses. These are going to be more like the bigger houses who have their own version of the Bible.
Mm-hmm. I think for fiction, because that was part of the question too. My mom, who's in here, Johnny Alexander, is a best-selling novelist. She does indie projects and traditional projects, and I think she has 41 books that she has written or stories. She's counting them up already, so it's very cool. But we were talking about the fiction market. So on the inspirational side, you have to see if the house or the line that you want to write for has a formula. So we were kind of talking about Love Inspired and how if you're going to write for Love Inspired, you need to understand their formula, which is not published anywhere. You need to read their books and figure out their formula, and then write something that looks like it could fit immediately into a Love Inspired line, because they know their audience so well, and the readers of those books expect the formula that is going to be there. So that's one tip if you're looking at fiction. My tip, if you're writing Christian fiction, would be to read in the general market version of what you're trying to write in the Christian market, because we say to read wide. So you should be reading those inspirational books, but then I think you should also say, okay, if I'm trying to write this rom-com for a Christian publisher, check out Melissa Ferguson. She writes, it's more clean, I would say, rather than like a Christian fiction. I think Tyndale or Thomas Nelson is her publisher. She's got multiple books coming out, sold, I think she's in the six figures when it comes to the amount of copies sold of one of her books recently. So I would call her like the low spice, clean Emily Henry general market version. So I would say kind of figure out like what the general market counterpart would be, and then just write the cleaner Christian version of that. That's one of my tips right now.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So yeah, I mean, those are some updates we haven't done in a bit on how the state of the industry is. I mean, I think it's good. Like we're doing deals. We're sending out new submissions all the time. So it's just a matter of we keep saying this, the rich keep getting richer though. The people that are already have a platform and already have market share are the ones getting the bigger deals and getting the sales. Like it is what it is. There's no way to take away from the mid-list authors are getting front list sales. I mean, that is the news. I mean, front list sales are up 30% over backlist sales right now, which is for a lot of publishers, they make good money on backlist, which means books they've had published out for at least over a year. But front list has been making money, but a lot of that is with these big name authors coming in and putting out new releases, and they're getting a larger share of sales. So the front list is getting a bigger portion of profit. And so if you want to get into the front list and be a part of that sales, you've got to get that platform. You've got to get readers who are going to buy books, and that's understanding and how to navigate selling your book.
Yeah. I will say if your debut, it can feel, especially right now, super hard, but I would say just be willing to pivot, be willing to try something else, continue writing, because you just don't know when your project is going to be the one that everyone's looking for at the moment. And then once you get your foot in the door, it definitely becomes easier.
Right.
For sure. I see any other questions. We'll go ahead and open up to any other questions. I think one of the Ask Agent questions that I saw on Twitter X recently was a good one to talk about, just while we open up to any final thoughts. It's about agents having like a goal or number of clients that they take on at a particular time. Like, is there a quota or a cap?
I think everybody has a different cap. I know people that have 4 clients. I know people that have 40 clients. I know people that have 100 clients. So it just depends. Generally, the more clients they have, the more likely they have a support team, interns working for them. They have, some other way that they determine or call them junior agents or whatever. But you'll find that each one will have their own capacity. A lot of agents do not do this full time. I mean, when I was at a conference with, I think only one agent that does it full time out of 15 agents in Detroit. All the rest are part time because they're all trying to sell books to make a full-time living, and they're selling their clients books. And so for a lot of them, they need to have another employment or something on the side to be able to sustain that until they get enough sales to make that sustainable. Yeah. So just be aware that that's going to be very depending on um, the person's situation.
Okay, I saw one more comment come in. So I'm going to go ahead and read that out. It's from Johnny Alexander, talking about fiction. They also have very specific tropes. And I think this is for Love Inspired when we're talking about that. So some of the tropes are marriages of convenience, secret babies, law enforcement, cowboys, Western locations. Combine them all and you up your chances. She said she's got several friends who write for Love Inspired and they love doing it. They often earn out their advances very quickly because Love Inspired has established outlets of subscriptions and retailers. So they have their distribution locked in. They know the reader, they know how to get the books to them, they know how to market to them. And so if you're into fiction and you're wanting to write inspirational, check out Love Inspired and try to break in there. Because a lot of their authors repeat books. Like once they have their author, it's kind of like next book, next book, next book, next book, next book. That's kind of what you want. If you're, if you're writing
I mean, if
novels.
you want to write that many books that fast, yeah.
Yeah.
If you're a fiction author who wants to write fast and quick, yeah, Love Inspired's a great. They have what Love Inspired does is if you're a debut, they give you a set. It's non-negotiable price now. And if you do well and the book does well, then they'll bring you back for another one and they'll do like a 3-book contract and then kind of move from there forward. So that's kind of the Love Inspired is very good. If you can get in and the book does well, you're going to probably move to a 3-book contract, 2 or 3-book contract after it, and then keep going. So, if you're a fiction author and you want to get into that, you can get into those type of books, but they're selling less. So they've kind of cut down some of their brands of that, but they're still, their readership is dying and they're not necessarily getting a lot younger. So that's one of the things I've talked to them about lately. They're trying to figure out how to get younger readers to get into, and so they're trying to figure that whole process out. They've had some mild success, but they need to figure out how to get a larger number of younger readers into kind of their book club and be regular buyers. So I'm guessing in the next 5 years, we're going to see Love Inspired transition significantly, or at least have a new imprint that's going to be more focused on pulling in even younger readers. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they're talking about it. So
That's interesting. All right.
see.
Well, we'll keep you updated when Kyle knows more.
If Kyle finds out anything. So yeah, but it'd be good. Yeah, so I mean it's the advice I can give now is just keep writing, keep working on your platform. I mean we got a really nice deal, 5-figure deal from a publisher I didn't expect it from, for an author who is very established, who has a co-author who's never written a book. And so that's wonderful. And they've gotten multiple offers. So I think there is an opportunity to break in, but I had to tell the co-author who I represent also that this is not the norm. So you don't normally come in and get a really big deal like this. It's because your co-author has a very well proven sales history. And so with that sales history, plus the fact that this person goes out and speaks and goes to homeschool conferences all year long, they're bringing pretty much guaranteed sales to the table. And the publisher already has their own sales distribution set up. They have very loyal readership for their brand. So that's why the offer came in. So you just have to know like that's part of it. So trying to establish and get those things figured out is ultimately the best thing for you, is having that ability to be able to sell books, whatever that's through email newsletter, it's whether it's through social media, whatever it is. I mean, people want to give contracts out. Sorry, there's something going on in my house.
Oh,
A lot of laughter. It's my daughter's birthday tomorrow, so yeah, they're laughing in there. I thought somebody got hurt. So like I think editors want to give contracts. They really do. I mean, I've had this conversation a couple times, but they want to give them people that they know can sell the books because it's their career on the line. Like if they like you, they like your book idea, they want to give you a contract. So know that like agents want to work with you and they want to sell your book and they want to make you happy because everybody wins. It's what are you doing to make sure that you can get that offer from those, those companies. I mean, that's kind of where my conversations have been lately with editors. Like, I love this idea, this book. I actually like this author, but I can't prove that they can sell 10,000 copies. And the answer is I can't either, because they don't have the platform which they've shown they can sell 10,000 copies or 5,000 copies or whatever it is for that specific editor. And so my job gets easier, Bethany. I know your job gets easier. I was bragging on Bethany at a conference because she got a client off social media who already had hundreds of thousands of followers. It was an easy sell to her, to the publisher. And so I was telling their agent, hey, you want to sell more books? Get clients who can sell. Like, that's the key. And so be a client who can sell and start figuring it out. I have a children's author that I work with who, when I started working with her, she's one of the most successful children's authors out right now. Her books just won the ECPA Book of the Year. It's won it like 5 or 6 times the last few books. She does a lot of ghostwriting, but she had like zero platform. And when I started working with her, I said, you've got to build this platform. But now she has like 14,000 email addresses that she's built in the last 4 years of working together. You know what that makes my job easier? Now she can begin. She's got a following now. And now we're launching her first book with HarperCollins, her first own children's book.
I can hear you.
We got her own first children's book with HarperCollins, and they got a nice deal. They want to do another one. And part of that was because she finally has her own platform, so she doesn't have to write books solely for other people, And so it changed everything for her, growing that email subscriber list. So I would encourage you, whatever you're wanting to do for your platform, there's lots of ways. There's podcasts, there's social media, there's website blogs, there's just do something and grow an ability to have a following that will help you by buying books, and you can pitch it to, and you will have more chances to get published. You just will. I promise you, you'll have more opportunities to get your stuff looked at. If you get the contract, I don't know, but that's how we get contracts for.
All right. Well, we'll go ahead and close it down. I didn't see anything else come in. If you
Sorry, it's my soapbox.
that's okay. That's good. No,
It's my rah. Let's
I'm
do
excited
this.
for her. And what's cool is that you met her at one of our conferences at our.
I met her at a one-day intensive. We need to do more of those because I got some good clients out of it.
That was a great one. Speaking of, we have I'm almost done with the North Carolina website, so hopefully that goes live today. And if you are a club member, there's a discount. We've got early bird registration, and we're gonna have Eva Marie Everson there. Johnny Alexander will be there. Kyle will be there. I will be there. Andy Clapp will be there. And we are doing pitch appointments as a bonus for the early registers until they are taken. There are not very many of them. So all that information will be going out. If I can get it done today, we will see. I don't know. So, anyway, thanks for being here with us. And if you've got anything that you want critiqued, send it into the support emails, and so we can do that for you. And we will talk to you guys later. Have a great day.